Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting, LLC, for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. Today, my guest is Chris Hawks. He's a husband, father of 3, a sports enthusiast, and the manager of the West and Woodall rental division. Chris, how are you doing today?
Corb, I'm doing great today. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming on. Good to see you.
Absolutely. Good to see you.
So we'll just jump right in. How long you been with West and Woodall?
I started in 2018, so 4 years.
And what were you doing before that?
Before that, I was the mortgage broker.
Okay. So how do you transfer from mortgages to managing rentals?
Really, it was about customer service. I worked in the hospitality industry for a long time. Managed a Cheers bar up in Boston. As you know, I'm a huge Boston fan.
I know we're gonna ignore that you're a Red Sox fan, and we're just gonna love that you're a baseball fan, and we're gonna just move on right past that.
I know.
You've got nothing to brag about this year.
I don't. Aaron Judge, you can taunt me later. That's fine. I'm good with it.
He hit 56 yesterday.
I know. I heard about it first thing in the office. So really, when I came over to West and Woodall, it was to grow the business, and really customer service was our focus.
Gotcha. Okay, and so that customer service first approach that attracted you to West and Woodall.
Yes,
because I mean, there's got to be dozens, if not hundreds, of companies that manage rental properties that you could go and help them grow their business.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So obviously, Stacy Sloan, good
Absolutely.
friend of mine and yours, works with you and now friend of the podcast. She came on and, in different words, basically had the exact same thing about why she just loves working in West. And she's not even in the rental side. She's in the just real estate side, but she just loves the customer first approach.
Stacy is awesome. I referred my cousin to Stacy, who was relocating from South Carolina, and she did an awesome job. She's
very thorough.
Yeah, just a great agent. And just like the rest of the agents at West and Woodall and the owners, it comes from Bert and Kirk, from the owners.
And I haven't had the pleasure, actually, of meeting them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to set that up.
Yeah, all these years working together, I now realize that.
That's amazing.
Well, so I worked with Stacy before she was with West and Woodall.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I worked with Stacy, and then one day she was like, now I'm with West and Woodall. And I was like, I honestly don't care. I'm with you.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, not that she, was subpar, but she only got better when she went to work for West and Woodall. So, you West and Woodall managed to take an amazing agent and make them an even more amazing agent.
Yeah, they're incredibly supportive of all the agents, everybody in there, and really giving back to the community. And I couldn't be happier.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. So they bring you on to grow the company. What, I guess, like assets specifically where they were like, okay, Chris, you know how to do X, Y, Z, and we were looking for that.
So interestingly, right before I came on, they had an opportunity to purchase Southeast. He was getting out of the business, wanted to retire, and he had a portfolio of about 500 residential units that he managed.
And for those listening, Southeast was a
property management company.
Okay. And that's
Dave Gorman,
local to
it was local
the Triangle?
in Durham.
Durham.
In
Okay.
Durham. And he managed 15 HOAs and had some commercial properties. And he was getting ready to retire and wanted somebody to take over his portfolio. And so it was an opportunity for us to grow a different way. Instead of going out and organically growing a business, we looked at it and said, yeah, this is a great opportunity. It was a little different in our business, was a little more modern, a little more everything's computer.
Oh, yeah.
We don't do hardly any paper. It's all digital. And their business was all paper. I mean,
right.
15 years of records. So that was a transition period. It was kind of unique.
A lot of scanning.
Yeah. A lot of scanning. Yeah. And
at some point you got to do it. I mean,
yep.
Yeah.
And they did everything wonderfully. It just, they hadn't transitioned to, the more up-to-date digital that we are in now. So that took us a little while, and then COVID hit, and we worked through all that. And so now we're just starting to get back to some normalcy.
Some normalcy.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right.
What's that like?
Exactly.
Normalcy in the construction, rental, home buying world? Okay.
Right.
Yeah. I'm waiting on the Durham real estate bubble to pop. I'll let you know. Yeah.
I know. It's
So the rental department, I mean, I had no idea that West and Woodall even had a rental department. And then, Stacy, we finish renovating our first property, and Stacy's like, well, have you met, who was it? Michael Templeton.
Yes.
Yeah. Who I guess had moved on, is doing some other stuff, but he was, I guess, the you before you.
Yes.
And she was like, yeah, this guy just, handles all of our rental stuff. And I was like, I didn't even know you guys had a rental division. I thought you exclusively sold properties. And, all of a sudden we have a guy, and he's, taking pictures, and he's handling the rental process. And we entered into a much more unique setup than I guess you guys are used to. Because correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe you want to talk a little bit about it, but you guys kind of more or less get handed a property, and the owner says, all right, I'm hands off, send me a check, and this is an investment. An investment.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Yours is unique, where we do tenant placement. For you, and we love working with you. We love your properties. They're always meticulous. I mean, we
try.
Yeah. I mean, you just very well thought out. I mean, even the last property we were in, I think, where you had it was the router. Yeah, the space for the
router shelf.
Yeah, router shelf.
Yeah.
And it was just so thought. Every detail in the house is just well thought out, well designed.
I'm in a unique situation where I build these houses, and I have, the wealth of knowledge that comes from my partners in the form of my mom and dad. I don't know if you could actually learn it. Like, they had to get that from real life experience. Sure. But at the same time, through their amazing success, they have no idea what it's like to live in a 1,200 square foot home with a roommate and a neighbor and a dog. They live on 30 acres in New York or whatever. So, and that's not a fault to anybody. They're successful people. Good for them. They shouldn't live in 1,200 square feet. But I don't live in 1,200 square feet, but I know closer what that's like. And then I also have the fortune of having
great tenants that have become borderline friends who I can then have legitimate conversations and be like, hey, so you've been living in that house for 8 months. What sucks and what is awesome? Yeah. And the sucks list is usually really long because that's people like to complain, and that's fine. But some of it's really crucial. Like you did both of the houses that we did on Ruth Street. You got tenants for us. Yeah. And the tenants in the first house ended up moving and taking the second house because they watched it get built and they're like, this is bigger and whatever. And they made a little bit more money, but they were very upfront and being like, yeah, so you know how you put that closet by the front door? Well, we nick it every time we walk in with groceries. It's the worst placed closet on the planet. And my mom, who thinks of where do you hang your coat and where do you put the alarm panel and where do you hang a mirror, we looked at each other and went, you absolutely need a closet there. Because on paper, it was gold. But only in actual use of practicality and chipping that drywall on move-in day with a dining room table and actually walking in 400 times with bags of groceries in your hand, that's experience that there would just be simply no way to get that unless I had a quasi good relationship with some tenants who could give me that info.
And that's what's so unique about you guys. I mean, your mom with the interior design, your dad with the architecture background, you with the construction background. But what makes it even better is how much you guys care about getting it right.
Yeah.
That's what I would say separates you.
Well, that's why we don't flip them.
Yeah.
Like if we just, and I'm not mocking and shooting down anybody. I don't have names to name or anything like that, but I don't have to remind you of horror stories for you to agree that there are people who flip a home and they know their warranty is over in a year and nothing's going to break till 18 months. So their corners are skipped.
Right.
And usually it's in things that take a lot of time to show up, like the waterproofing in the shower pan. And that leak is, you don't see it for 15 years and it's $20K of damage or whatever it may be. But because when you're flipping, you've got a more strict timeline, usually a more strict budget. Every nicer thing you spend money on is away from your budget because, the comps of the area when you start building a home, and, the comps are not going to drastically change if you put in some nicer fixture. That's just going to cost you more money. So like we holding on to these properties and knowing that if the shower pan is leaking, that's not on the tenant. I've got to fix that. So we are very meticulous in, the long term, especially I know it sounds weird to say, but less on the aesthetics and more on, did we overbuild that foundation? Let's overbuild that foundation. Let's make sure that we tripled up that thing that only requires 2 layers just because we need it that much more bomb proof. Because also, you don't slam your closet door because it's your closet door. Tenants don't give a crap. They slam that door. They break that doorknob. They don't care at all. So that helps alleviate some of that by you make the house a little bit nicer, granite, stainless steel. The tenant walks in and goes, man, maybe I, should be a little nicer and think about my home a little bit better. And I got to say, compared to some horror stories, we've been extremely lucky with tenants.
Well, that was one of the first things I noticed in the first house I went in was the materials, the LVT flooring that you put down and the way you installed it, the countertops. It was materials that are going to last.
Yeah, not a typical rental.
No.
Yeah, but again, our mindset is a tenant doesn't care about the countertop. So they take a hot pan and they put it on that Formica, they burn a ring, and now I've got to replace that Formica when they move out. And 2 Formicas is cheaper than 1 granite. Yeah. So the granite's more expensive, obviously, for one-time use. But if you do the mental math of in 10 years before I sell this house, a tenant's definitely gonna, and not even on purpose, is gonna mess up that Formica. If I replace it just one time in 10 years, I already lost money if I had just put in the granite from day one. And then personally, because we're not a massive corporation, we're a family-run thing, pets are our life. So to not let a tenant have a pet would be, cruel in our eyes. Cats, dogs, I mean, we even let pigs, I think. I think somebody wanted their little like mini potbelly pig or something. We were like, we just have to meet the animal to get a vibe. But you know, so that you mentioned the flooring, like we've spent a little bit of time and money researching the right floor that's going to hold up to a pet. You know, carpet's just going to have to be cleaned 100 times and de-petified or whatever the term is.
Corb, you're so right, because everybody that's looking to rent just about has a pet.
Yeah.
Just about everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like everybody I know has a pet.
Yeah.
Pets are awesome. Do you have pets?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a dog. And you're right. I mean, and if they see a fence in the yard, forget it. It's, I mean, the phone calls we get with people with pets is incredible. And now they're getting around it for owners that don't want pets. I mean, they have a service animal, they get a certificate. It's real easy it's real easy to get around. So it's very difficult. So it's smart just putting in the materials that are going to withhold animals. The other thing is, you don't know, you may think I'm going to have this house for 4 or 5 years as a rental. Something may change. You need to sell that house.
Right. And now we've built it. We've built it kind of it will be ready to sell after a coat of paint and a cleaning.
Right.
You know, like we're not going to have to demo that kitchen,
Right.
you know, or redo the tile, you know. So, you know, even doing things like putting in really nice glass doors in the shower, like that is definitely something that would be seen as a liability from a rental stand-up or perspective because of the damage it could do, the cost to replace, whatever. But like you said, if we wake up tomorrow for whatever reason and we've got to sell a rental property that has granite, stainless steel, and glass and tile, we clean it, we paint it, and boom, done. You know, pressure wash it, we're ready
and that's
to go.
a neat thing. I mean, you may have a property that comes up for sale that all of a sudden you say, wow, we're going to sell these other properties and get this property. It's just a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And you're ready. You don't have to do anything.
That has happened.
Yeah.
I mean, before I knew you, our first one on Guthrie and Angier, and for those who are listening in this part of the world, know that you do not go there without your concealed carry, because it's very dangerous and still is 7 years later. But I mean, we were building that house and there were the undesirables on the corner that were threatening me, and you know, sex workers using the deck I freshly built as a workstation, as my brother coined it, the term. You know, it was terrible. It was terrible. And we rented it for as long as we could. Yeah. And then it became even too difficult for you to find us tenants, because tenants would show up and look around and go, I don't want to live here. And I go, I don't really blame you. And then we sold it to just buy 2 more properties that were, I mean, the level of difference of that one corner lot compared to all
I know,
ones.
and they were trying to fix up that whole area.
Yeah, I know that they did, in fact, buy, fix, and open that pizza place.
Yes,
Sophia's Pizza.
Yeah, we went there one day for lunch.
For a slice. It was good, but it didn't do at all what I thought it would do. I thought it would make, you know, look, I'm not a perfect human and I can't judge anybody, but I don't want a crack dealer in front of my rental house. Like, I don't think that's that insane to not want a crack dealer in front. Like, I'm sure he's got a family and he needs to make money and maybe there's a better job for him. I'm not going to judge anybody, but I don't want it in front of my rental property. And I was kind of hoping that when the abandoned building he was chilling in became a business, that he'd maybe move a couple blocks and nothing changed, because you can't tell anybody to get off a public sidewalk or off a bus stop or off a public bench. I mean, it's, you know,
that house sold quickly.
It did sell. Yeah. It did sell quickly. And I mean, I don't actually know, but maybe that's a testament to what you're saying about how we just kind of build for, you know, sell ready, but for rentals.
Now that house, did you add the second floor to that house?
No.
Was that there?
We didn't add the second floor. What we did do was completely rip out the staircase, patch the hole, and cut a new hole and move the staircase.
Okay.
It was in the middle of the house.
Okay.
And we moved it in the corner and made a switchback staircase.
Okay.
And then we added a whole second story bathroom. There was no bathroom up there.
There's a bathroom.
Didn't exist.
Yeah.
So upstairs, you walked upstairs and it was just 2 bedrooms that didn't have closets. So it was just 2 rooms.
Okay.
And downstairs was 1 room and a bathroom. And so we basically kept the 1 room in the bathroom and we took upstairs, and we were like, all right, this is not 2 rooms, because they're not rooms without closets. They were legally offices or whatever, dens. So we were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take these 2 rooms, and we're going to make them a master king suite. So you walk up the steps, and it's just sitting room, bedroom, bathroom, 1 master suite. So the whole second story, and we had to replumb it and I mean, we did everything but change the electrical panel in that house. Down to the insulation, some flooring, some floor like rot repair. I had to pour cement and then leveler. Like, it was a whole, and I didn't know what I was doing. Let's be really clear. Like, I'm the professional now who started a podcast, but I had no idea what I was doing. And this was like 10 years ago. I had no idea. I didn't have a license.
Did you have your GC?
No, I didn't have a GC license. My plumber pulled the plumbing permit, and it was fine. And then the next house, he went to pull a plumbing permit, and he went, well, I can't pull, the city has tightened up. I can't pull a plumbing permit without a building permit to tie it to. And I had to hire a general contractor to basically, on paper, be the general contractor. Basically, I gave this guy a couple G's, and he filed the permits, and he called in for all the inspections, and I signed a little piece of paper that said, like, you're not liable. We're going to still inspect everything. We're going to do it right. Like, no corners will be cut, whatever. So, like, no matter what, he could never be in trouble. And as you know, I mean, we do it right.
Yeah, you do it.
But yeah, before I had my license, I mean, we had to do that.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
So I've been fortunate. I've gotten to meet your mom and dad. Wonderful people. Just
appreciate that.
So how does it, when you guys find a property like that, where does it start? Does it go to your dad with the architecture?
It usually starts with my mom, because she's actually the hawk. I know that's your last name, and I didn't even mean to make that pun, but like, she's looking, Zillow, Realtor.com, whatever. She's hunting all day when she's not painting, doing it. She's like quasi-retired now, but she's hunting all the time. And usually it starts with an email to me that says, hey, Corb, what do you think? Look what I found. And most of the time, I go, this is terrible. What were you thinking? But that's part of the process, and then she'll send me one. And usually it's a tie between, I'm going to drive by it right now, or forward to Stacy to then, hey, Stacy, pull up whatever you can find, pull up whatever is public / realtor only info, and just give us everything. Find a plot plan, a survey, because we're a little bit more like anal, and we're a little bit more like, we want all of the info that maybe not somebody who's just like buying a home they're going to move into, because we, if we're going to build a home and we're going to put an extension on it, hypothetically, we need to know right where that property line is, what the setbacks are, that kind of stuff. So it's a tie between me driving by and getting Stacy involved. Yeah. And then at that point, my design is much later. My pops is involved at this point, but he, has a good financial sense. He is part of the financial backing. So when it's like, okay, here's an $80,000 house or whatever, and then he'll be like, all right, well, is it worth 80 grand? Like, what's it going to take to fix, blah, blah, blah. All of them generally cost approximately the same amount of money if we're not doing an extension, because we're not reinventing the wheel. The appliances may have gone up a percentage with COVID, but you factor that in, and it is what it is. But yeah, once we've acquired a home, we pretty much always look at each other and go, well, we're gutting this right to the studs. I mean, it would cost more money to try to save stuff at a certain point, especially, for example, electrical. If the electrician is going to, with sheetrock on the walls, have to cut little holes to drill through studs to feed a wire or run it through the crawl space, all this, whatever it may be, and then I've got to patch all those holes, it's just easier to rip all the sheetrock down and just say, hey, man, I'm going to hire, some hourly dudes and some dumpsters, and we're going to gut this thing and then rip all the old wires out and start over, make it all flawless. We're going to get it all re-inspected and just do everything. I mean, that usually helps us find better properties for less money, because they need that much work. Not everybody is okay with tackling a property that has cracks in the sheetrock around a window because they think the foundation shifted. Is it done shifting? Whatever. We go, oh, well, we have foundation, guys. Yep. Whatever. We're going to gut it anyway. So let's gut it. And if we're shimming, we're shimming. If we're adding a beam, we're adding a beam. I mean, we'll just do what we got to do. It's just another step, It's
interesting you say that because when I was in college, I did construction. So I worked for a third generation contractor, and they were like you guys. They did it right. And they also did foundations. So I got to do foundations, and we do everything except for electrical and plumbing. And then when I bought my first house, I wanted to do all this stuff, and my wife was like, we can't do that. She didn't even want to put a nail through the sheetrock. It was like, let's hang stuff where there's already a hole. I'm like, wait, what? And then HGTV comes along, and then it's like, oh, we could cut a hole in the wall. So it's kind of interesting that you have that confidence to go in and just know that you can do anything.
But like I said, it didn't manifest overnight.
Right.
Right. It manifested. So first of all, my parents / sponsor, WSDG, I mean, they've been doing this
right
their whole lives before I was born, before they met. I mean, my mom went to FIT. When my parents met, my mom had more power tools than my dad. I mean, it's like I was literally bred for this. And growing up in a tiny country house that not so slowly got not so tiny. So I got to literally witness and help the GC put an extension on our home. If it was during the summer, well, what am I doing? Okay, grab a hammer, and that's when I remember being a kid and my dad noticed I got tired with my right hand with my hammer, and I just switched to my left hand and started hammering, and everyone stops and he goes, "You can hammer with both hands?" And I'm just like it's not a big deal. And they're like, "Yeah, not everybody's ambidextrous with a hammer, dude. Not everyone can do it." I was like, my arm's just tired. I need to switch. I thought, I had no idea, But so I literally grew up in it, around it, involved in it. I mean, 100 yards from my house was my dad's office where, 10 employees would show up every day to a world-renowned functioning architecture firm. So before I even knew what I was looking at blueprints. Yeah. And I didn't even know what it was, but I knew that curved thing was a door. Like, that's all. I had no idea. So, and then I mentioned a lot about Guthrie. When we bought that house, we were not planning on gutting it. We were planning on taking out maybe a couple closets, maybe adding a little something here, redoing the kitchen. And it became one of those things where you rip out the closet and you notice some rot in the wall behind it. And then you go, okay, well, we got to open that up. And then you demo the bathroom and the floor is rotted, and you rip up the rotten floor and the beam underneath it is rotted. Well, we got to replace that beam. Well, if we're replacing the beam, might as well jack the house back to level. Okay, well, and then the electrician comes by and he goes, well, it's going to cost you $7,000 if you demo it, or it's going to cost you $14,000 if you want me to snake all these wires. So my dad just looks at me and goes, demo all this freaking sheetrock, get it out of here, get 10 dumpsters. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't have any guys, so I'm doing this solo in like an asbestos filled house with a mask. I mean, my face was black every day. My girlfriend would be like helping me on her days off when she wasn't working at Trader Joe's at the time, an ex-girlfriend 7, 8, 10 years ago. I don't even know. It's a long time ago. So, the idea of this podcast is to bridge a little bit of that gap from, people like me who do the work and people who, own a home and need that work done. But even I, who do this for a living, it did not just come one day where I was like, yeah, that's fine. No roof, no foundation, no insulation. We'll take that house. Like, it was very frustrating the first couple of houses. And I would say it took till after the third house that we all looked at each other and went, this just changed from frustrating. No, it's still frustrating. Let me rephrase. This just changed from, oh shit, another surprise, to let's just buy the house we know that we're going to do everything to, so that there are no surprises. Like if we buy the house and on walk-in, it's got leaking roof, broken windows, and crappy foundation. Okay, well, we'll replace it. We know how to do that now.
Yeah, you guys have a process and a system down, I'd say just really good system.
I think it's simply because, and I don't actually know, but my gut tells me that it's because we're a niche. Like, if you throw a quarter any direction, you'll find 25 handyman and general contractors who could build you a deck. And I can build you a deck. That's not what I'm saying. And that same coin in the same amount of directions, you'll find 10,000 contractors who will flip a house for you or build you a new house. And I've done that and can do that. And I'm going to have my buddy Jeremy on the podcast, who I literally built his house for him. We built it together, and great success. He is in love with it. Him and his wife couldn't be happier. But the fact that we specifically want to buy a house that somebody would want to flip, but we're interested in the more long-term, how do we like provide some long-term for the family? This is our best thought process of how we do that. Like, okay, we can buy this home, we can put, $100,000+ into it, and then collect almost all of that back in 10 years of rental. And then that house, surely by tax value, forgetting about how much Durham is growing, will increase in value. And then we start factoring in things like how big and fast Durham is growing. Houses are going to triple in value.
There's a shortage of rental homes now.
Yeah.
So Durham put in the accessory dwelling where they changed. And so if you have a lot that's 50 feet wide, I think you could put an accessory dwelling on there.
And for those who aren't listening, accessory dwelling is basically like a garage or, an art studio, basically anything that isn't a bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's 900 or 1,200 square feet is the max. And so we have builders that are, that have rental property that they'll kind of like you, they'll buy a house and all of a sudden they're tearing it down, doing accessory dwellings that are selling, for 250, 300,000.
So jump a little bit deeper into that. When you say that, you mentioned somebody like me who owns a house and then they're demoing it.
So we have some owners that'll buy a house that they won't renovate it.
Okay.
They're just holding it. They don't want to put anything into it because they just want to cash flow until they can tear it down and do a new construction.
So they're just renting it out to just keep cash flow coming in, but they did no work. They're just like buying this house, make it legally safe, and rent it as is. Gotcha.
That's kind of the worst nightmare.
I would imagine for you, that's terrible. Because when you're renting my house, you get to bring somebody in and go, it's brand new, it's stainless steel.
It's wonderful. on the flip side, somebody's getting a below market rent property.
Okay. Yeah.
So
there's
really
at least a benefit.
Yeah, it is a benefit because there's a
market for it.
There's a market for it. There's a lot of people that need that can't afford $1,500 or $2,000. So if they could find something for $900, they're willing to say, "Yeah, I'll take this."
Yeah.
And going in, you're very upfront with them, saying, "This is it. This is
like these appliances don't match."
That's right. There's a little rust on the fridge. Yeah, this is it. This is what you get. But you also get a below market rent, and so that works. But it's amazing to see once they tear it down and put something up.
So so hypothetically, right? Builder, they buy this house that would be one that I would do or a flipper would do. Yeah. And then they're just renting it to keep the positive cash flow. I get that part. And then what you're saying is one house on one lot, they demo it. And just put two tiny little, but not townhomes because they're not connected.
They're not townhomes. No, they're just two smaller homes.
Okay. Yeah. So where's the accessory dwelling part come in?
Well,
two tiny homes with tiny garages?
Well, one may be a home with an accessory dwelling. Sometimes they'll do that.
But isn't that still being rented and sold as one home?
I think they'll sell. Well, it depends how that would be one home. You're right.
Right, because if I build an accessory dwelling, that means it's an accessory to my dwelling.
You're right.
Yeah. So it's like, it's right.
Yeah.
So you were more talking, forget about the term confusion. You're more talking builders are buying a tiny lot with a home, demo it, and building two tinier homes and splitting it and
sometimes,
selling.
we're seeing all kinds of stuff right now that we didn't see 5-6 years ago.
I do see a lot of, ironically, I find them kind of attractive, but I do see a lot of these like tiny, very tiny, modern, like 2-story boxy with like one shed roof angle. Yeah. Seems to be a thing. It's like taken over Durham by storm, and they're very small.
I'm not a big fan.
Well, that's fair.
Yes,
They're not for everybody.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I love the homes that fit the architecture. To me, that's what I like.
I agree with you 100% on the commercial side. Like some of the things that Durham like makes developers do in terms of like, well, yeah, you can build a new whatever, but you're keeping that 20 section foot of brick wall just because it has a mural on it. That kind of stuff. And I know as a builder, that's annoying and expensive. Yeah. But as a person who is sitting and eating at the restaurant next to that apartment building that would otherwise just be an apartment building without a mural, I like the mural.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on the commercial side. Couldn't agree with you more. On the residential side, I kind of like, not necessarily like the diamond in the rough look, but I don't mind driving by 6 houses that look alike and then this one that's like completely out of place. I mean, we're in a very crazy melting pot kind of city.
We are.
So the architecture is reflecting that.
Yeah, we definitely are. I love when you have a house built in the 40s. Just that architecture with you just don't build homes like that.
Yeah, I think you're talking a lot about like, that like wraparound style porch thing. And don't get me wrong, I do love it. Yeah. I got room in my heart for both.
Yeah.
As the son of an architect, I like a lot of types
I do
of
like the new
architecture.
modern stuff too. Yeah. I have been in some modern homes and they are very nice. I will say.
I think what is probably, I never really stopped and thought about it till just now, but I think it's going to be, to me, it's funny. What I like about them the most is thinking about the low maintenance of them. Yeah. Not so much if that they look good.
You're right.
I'm just like, that shed roof's not going to have a leak because there's no leak point. Like that. And
in property management, we are 90% of our time is maintenance probably.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we deal with 7 days a week.
90% of the time.
Maybe not 90, but a lot of maintenance.
Gotcha.
A lot of maintenance.
What would you say your average, so if you're doing a year lease, is that an average length?
Average, yeah.
What's your average amount of maintenance calls from one person in a year?
So
lease?
It really depends on the property. I would think a property like yours would be very few.
Yeah,
very
you said we're a unique situation where you don't handle my maintenance because I do. But, yeah, I haven't gotten much.
Clean out your gutters. Just very few things in your home. Very few.
Yeah, we send a gutter cleaner twice a year. Our tenants do their own lawn. And really some one-off stuff that you can't control. Like, a tenant called me one day and he went, I didn't do anything. I came home, the stove doesn't work. And I was like, I go over, it's not the breaker. It's the stove. It just died. It's not under warranty. It's only 4 years old. So I just went on Facebook and bought a $200 used stove and I drove it over to him and I went, help me, dude. We're getting this out of my pickup truck. And the dude across the street is a junker. I was like, you want this free stove? It doesn't work. He's like, I'll fix it. Cool. Save me the dump trip, but other than little things like that, I have very little, but that's because our homes are new.
And you'll see some owners will come in and do everything up front because they don't want to have maintenance for 3 or 5 years.
Everything like what?
Water heater. They'll go in and replace, water heater, shower heads.
You're talking on a purchase side.
On a purchase side.
Gotcha.
Getting it ready for a rental. Kind of like, not to the extent maybe of what you do, but they'll try and get it ready. Others will just handle it as it comes in.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. I can see both sides, especially depending on the age of certain things. Like if you buy a home and, your water heater that's on a 10-year shelf life is on its 15th year, maybe don't wait till, your tenant calls upset in the middle of winter with no hot water to replace that. So I get it, but at the same time, a lot of money.
We had a commercial property. Now, we weren't managing it at the time. They had a water heater go, second floor, $500,000 in damage.
What kind of establishment was it?
Little water heater, commercial.
Oh, like apartments?
No, it was just office space.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It was over a weekend. Yeah. So
new floors, new drywall.
And
you said
ceiling,
second floor, so the whole
over a weekend. It was just it was
all
bad.
day long.
Yeah.
I have already decided that like I will take the money out of my square footage when I build a home and put sensors for that kind of stuff, because that's one of my biggest fears is like, if I go away on a scuba diving trip, no one could even call me in the middle of the ocean.
Valves. Yeah, stuff like that.
Like no one would know. No one would have any idea. And I come home to no more electrical, no more whatever it may be. Yeah. So that's a huge fear of mine. Yeah, sure. Okay, and we're back from the bathroom break.
Yes, thank you.
The magic of editing. But yeah, I mean, the sensors, not even for the water heater, but anything water related. I mean, your toilet water supply. I mean, if that, through no fault of anybody, it could just things crack. And I mean, that will just keep leaking and keep leaking and keep leaking until you turn it off at the wall. And I mean, if you're second floor, or you don't, even your baseboards, if they're not PVC, they're gone. It takes 2 seconds. Yeah.
There's some great sensors out now for water heaters, and we just installed one. It was really interesting. The sensor goes down into the pan with a little piece of paper. If that gets wet, it goes back up. It shuts the valve, shuts the whole thing off.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yep.
And so I personally have messed with no sensors. I haven't installed any of them. I'm now thinking, like, I run rentals. Why have I not put them in every single rental? But I just haven't done that. That piece of paper, is there concern with location on that? Like, in a North Carolina crawl space with North Carolina humidity, my gut is like 6 months in, no matter what, that paper's saturated. Or is it a not like regular tissue paper? It's like a specialty paper-ish.
No,
do you know much about it?
Normal paper. No, I'm not sure. Because I was wondering how that. I had the same concern. I was thinking, this is going to get. I mean,
because a water heater, obviously, in your conditioned space, like in a closet in your home, that's not a concern. But a lot of people have their, some people don't know, but water heaters can go everywhere, and they don't have to be inside what we call the envelope. They could be in the attic where they're not under heat and air control, or they could be in the crawl space. And if you don't have a sealed attic or crawl space, which is fine, that's not conditioned, which is a fancy way of saying not heated or AC'd. So that humidity is going to build, and my gut is just like, well, the paper's going to, and then for no reason, no one could figure out why your hot water just stopped. Yeah. Why did it just shut off? Nothing's leaking. Yeah. But I'm sure there's somebody has thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd have to research that more, but I would think if it was in the attic, I would probably want to have that on there. Cause if that goes,
it should be illegal. I don't want to get in so much into it. We can talk for a couple minutes, but it should be actually illegal to install water heaters in attics. I mean, first of all, I don't know if you've ever been involved in swapping one. Normally, they don't fit.
They don't fit
through the opening of the staircase. They are brought up, and then the staircase is installed, and the home builder just says, I don't fucking care, because it's not my problem in 10 years. It's my problem because I'm the one who gets a call, and then I got to call my plumber, Tommy, who's the best, but he goes, I'm not a carpenter. I can't take the staircase out. So then he has to rehire me.
Tommy from New York?
Tommy from New York.
Ah, we use Tommy.
There you go. Yeah. Tommy, shout out to Tommy Adams and James McKinney.
We're thinking of you.
We are fans.
We are fans.
Yeah. I'm going to get Tommy on here. I'm sure he's got 150 plumbing stories.
That's
we
right.
could do 7 episodes. But yeah, I remember not too long ago. I mean, luckily, as far as it goes, it was smooth. But I mean, you got to drain those giant electrical tanks. So we had to run a hose down the attic stair, which I say stair generously. It's a freaking wood ladder that's about to break. I'm 260 pounds of 6'4" dude. They do not feel safe. Yeah. And we had to run a hose out a second-story window to drain this thing. And then 6 people, because it's full of sediment, had to brace it as we go down. And then I had to put back in the staircase that I took out and retrim it and repaint it. And it just, what do you tell the homeowner? I'm not eating that cost.
I for the life of me, can't figure out why they put them up there.
I don't understand. I mean, I get why you would do it from there's a cement floor, there's no crawl space, and there's no floor space in the main home to sacrifice. But, if there's any other option on earth, I would try it. We have bought slightly more expensive shrunken pancake compressors to fit them in crawl spaces before.
Yeah.
We try to simply build a water heater closet. That's what we try to do. That's what we like to do, because then that makes servicing them easier for my plumber, so they're much happier to come back for that service call. And then also, if it's its own closet, we just tell the tenant, you don't really have access to that closet. Like, it's not in the coat closet, it's its own closet. And also that allows us, talking about leaking and sensors. It's not a sensor, but if a tenant is home and a pipe breaks, they can at least walk into that closet and turn the shutoff valve and then call me and go, hey, we turned off the water, but this, the kitchen sink just exploded or whatever. And I can be like, okay, well, you turned the water off. It's Sunday at 8:00 at night, throw towels down and my plumber will be there in the morning, so we at least have that, like, one tiny extra, and I've made my plumber reroute and put a shut off in the main house, even if the water heater isn't. Cause I'm like, I want my tenants to have access to a quick and easy shut off to at least just kill it. They can turn that, they can kill breakers, and then they can call me.
Yeah.
At least to get to that.
That's so important as well.
The shut off.
Shut off.
Yeah. It's something I didn't even actually think about. And then my plumber was like doing it, and I got incorrectly, I got upset at him because I was like, there's no way you're going to put, another $200 on my bill. I'm not paying for that shut off valve and that extra pipe and your extra time and all this. And he was so aware of how much it was needed. He was like, I won't even charge you. Like, you're being silly. And then, of course, the next house, I was like, let's make sure we put that shut off under the sink. I want, like you did on the other house. Yeah, add that to the bill this time. Yeah. That's a good idea, Tom. He's like, I freaking know. I'm a professional plumber. And he's twice my age, and I've got to hire him, so he's got to act like I know what I'm talking. And I don't know what I'm talking about.
It's like the HVAC units when they have up in the attic, and they have a pan, and now they have the sensors that they put on there.
Yep. We have exactly what you described. You actually found me a tenant for that house, the Fay Street house. Yep. It's in the attic. And I have never had more problems with one freaking air conditioning unit than that house in my whole life. I've had to do coil replacement. Wow. It's not even 5 years old.
Yeah. The units are not made like they used to be.
No, they're not. No,
I've got a 30-year-old train unit that still works in my house.
It's probably better than.
And they told me, a vendor told me 15 years ago, you need to replace all 3 of your units. I said, well, they're working. He said, well, they could go out any day. I said, well, I'll wait till they
when they go out.
I'll wait till they go out. They're still working. I replaced one of them. But the new units, they're just not made like.
So, I had an HVAC guy. Luckily, he was the service tech for the company that I hired to do all my rentals. So I was like, hey, can you just I need you to service like 11 houses. And I threw my house on the list. And he just goes, man, you're operating at like 70 to 80%. And I was like, I don't really know what that means. And he's like, well, if it was 100%, you're at 80. And I was like, oh, okay, gotcha. So what do I do? Does that mean I need like new ducts? And he was like, you need new everything. Like, your home was built in 2007. Everything's original. Wow. And I was like, well, no. I was like, I'll call you when it dies. Like, I don't have that like laying around. I mean, that's like 10 G's, for a whole new unit and ductwork and air handler. And they were like, we're going to have to cut a hole in your floor for a new vent. Like, your vent spacing is, at the old level and now the new level and whatever it was. And, I was like, you'll be the first one I call when it actually stops working. But until then, like, we're not doing this today. So how many homes have you owned?
One.
Just the one. Still in it.
Still in it.
So I can't ask you about being a first-time home seller, but what was it like being a first-time home buyer?
So my wife and Kim and I were living in Boston at the time. Renting. We were looking at properties up there. Came to visit some friends down here, and I looked at the houses, and I was like, we're moving.
It's a common tale.
Yeah. Yep. So we went from a 700-800 square foot apartment, 1 bedroom, kind of like you said, to a 4,000 square foot house. So we kind of skipped the first house and just went to our house.
Yeah. So yeah, that's an interesting point because it is a common the starter house, as they call it.
Yeah.
Like we're sick of renting, but we're not ready to do what you did. Yeah. And that, like, my brother did that, no problems. They were very happy. And then they moved on to their final house. That's a big step to go and buy a 4,000 square foot house.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
And we were fortunate. That was in 2002.
Okay. So much cheaper than it would be now. It's probably doubled in value.
Yes. Yep. Yes. Yeah, it's done quite well.
So you mentioned you come down here to visit some friends.
Yeah.
So are they hey, do you have a realtor like to your friend and they help you out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is how it happened.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So it's all network, word of mouth.
Yeah.
You weren't like, let me just Google Durham realtors.
No,
you didn't
I don't
know
even
Stacy.
know if Google was around in 2002. Maybe it was.
I think it was.
Yeah,
May
it
have
might
been
be,
slower, but it was still there.
Yeah. Actually, we went into their neighborhood in Bahama, North Durham.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And found 2 houses we really liked and put an offer and went through. And everything. We didn't have kids at the time. Now we have 3 kids, and they've all grown up in that house. Daughter just moved to freshman at NC State.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah,
nice.
Thank you. So she's doing great. But it's been a great neighborhood.
She's close enough to come do
That's
laundry.
Right. Yes, close enough. She's off to a great start. So she's got a great roommate and just really enjoys it. So we're very happy for her and feel just very fortunate.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. The home, you mentioned, I think just a second ago, that you did in fact replace one of the air conditioners.
We did.
Yeah. Did you do any other work? I mean, you said 2002, so you've had it quite a while.
We've had it. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you done any work to it?
We've done some work. We've put in new countertops, and we've done some updates. Not as many as we'd like with 3 kids. So.
Gotcha. How many of those updates did you do with your own sweat, and how many did you hire a person?
Probably about 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you don't remember all of them, that's fine. There's no quiz. But in the category of I did this myself because I've got hands and a tool belt and YouTube, what are some things that you did?
So I've replaced the water heater a couple times, my well pump twice, replaced toilets.
And I think I know the answer because you talked about it a little earlier, but you have the confidence and skills to do this from a childhood or teenagership or whatever of working in construction for a long time. Yeah. So that kind of stuff was natural to you, and you had, I'm assuming, at least some basic tools already at that point.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. So what are some things that you like had to hire out besides that AC?
Yeah, so when we replaced our countertops, we hired somebody out for that, and some siding, roofing. Had a new roof put on this past year. A&R Roofing did a great job.
A&R, shout out. Gotcha.
Yeah, A&R Danny, did a great job. His dad was a pitching coach for the Red Sox.
Oh,
and they won the World Series.
Wrong team, but that's okay.
No, that was a great thing, actually. So, he's with the Cleveland Guardians right now. He's a pitching coach.
Really?
His dad, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I obviously will live and breathe by the Yankees, but anything in baseball is pretty awesome.
It is. It's an awesome sport.
So you mentioned that the housing price difference was why you moved here. For me, it was the Durham Bulls. I visited my brother when he was living here in a crappy apartment, and he took me to technically Durham Bulls Stadium, but it wasn't a Bulls game. It was actually July 4th USA versus like Panama or Guatemala or something like that.
Awesome.
And to my surprise, USA beat the piss out of Guatemala because you would think that the South American country where all the baseball players come from would beat us up. And actually, it was mercy ruled, which I didn't know was a thing at that level. I assumed I played Little League and that was a thing, but I didn't think that was a thing at this level. And then he takes me to, some barbecue place. It was probably like a chain barbecue that wasn't even the best stuff. And I was like, this is heaven. And that's what did it
That
for
was
me.
it.
That was it. I was
it.
like, I'm moving here. I don't know when, but I'm moving here. Yeah.
So we were looking at 2-bedroom. So back in Boston, we were looking at places that they would take a house, convert it into 3 condos.
Yeah.
An old house. Yeah. They do a lot of that. So we were looking at a 1-floor, 2-bedroom, 400,000.
That's what Fay Street was. I don't know if you remember when we bought it, but it was 2 shotgun singles in a home. Like when you looked at this single family home from the outside, the front door though opened to a foyer, and then you had a left and right door. And everyone was like, why does this house have 2 back doors? We were like, well, let me tell you a story. And the master bedroom has its own entrance. So we just kept the doors. But yeah, it is more common than you would think.
Yeah.
It's a quick way to add some
I was going to
rental.
text you the other day. Did you see the skinny house in Boston? Have you ever seen that?
Oh yeah, the one that the guy built out of spite.
It's up for sale.
It's up for It's like 8 feet wide. yeah.
I was thinking
Just to anger his neighbor. It was like, I'm gonna build this just to put shade on you.
I was thinking I'd make a nice studio. You guys could have a rental studio. You could be in Boston. Your dad teaches in Boston.
I just want to meet the guy. I want to have him on the podcast and just be like, how badly did they piss you? I mean, you blew $500,000 on a house. Like, man, you should have just gone to the gym for a day or so.
So it's listed for $1.2 million.
Listed? Do you happen to know what it cost him to build that house?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
So for anybody who has no idea what we're talking about, Google I think you can literally Google the skinny house in Boston. Basically, the long and short of it is this dude couldn't build the house he wanted for, I believe, a combo of like city rules, but mostly a neighbor just being like a fussy pain in the butt. And he was like, okay, I'm going to build a house that isn't really livable, but will just annoy the crap out of this neighbor and abide by all the rules. And it's like the weirdest, oddly shaped, very skinny, super tall house that just messes with his neighbor's yard. And it is truly the most petty. It is Tom Petty. I mean, it is so petty. It is the most petty thing I've ever seen. It's absurd. It's like, yeah, I can. So why not? Yeah.
But yeah, coming down here, when we looked at houses and what you could get, it was like, all right, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the same thought 6 years after the barbecue story. I'm in California and I'm just like, okay, I'm just burning dollars for a crappy rental in a crappy I was renting 1 bedroom in 1 house with 6 other people, with stoves that had 1 burner that didn't work and a dishwasher that didn't work and the list just kept going and going, all to have my dog and good weather. Yeah. And I was like, they got air conditioning in North Carolina. I'll be fine. I got the hell out of there.
And I just missed it in 93. I was trying to get a 1-bedroom condo, and I just couldn't.
In Boston.
Yeah,
back
Boston.
up. Yeah.
And I should ask my parents for a loan. I was trying to do it on my own. I just couldn't do it, and I just kept missing it. And each year, it was just going up, up, up. And if I could have got that 1-bedroom condo, I wouldn't even have had a house payment when I came down here. I mean, the market was just.
From 93 to 2002. In that 9 years, it would have.
Yeah, in that span.
What part of Boston?
So I lived all over Boston. I lived in Brookline, Brighton, Watertown, South Boston, and lived with the Coughlin family there. They were awesome. Just all my good friends there. Tommy Regan and Karen Regan, lived with them in their 2-family house.
Awesome.
And it was just a great experience. But,
so I hear that Boston supposedly makes the like hardest working people because it's just so freaking cold and you just still have to get up and go to work at 6 a.m. Can you attest to this?
I can.
You can? Okay.
Yeah. It's funny. I used to wear my shorts all the time in the winter. Snow.
I was that psycho too.
Yeah. Now I moved down here and it's like 60 degrees. And
I
it's
would
cold.
be the psychopath, college campus, Oneonta, New York, in the western mountains of
Good hockey
upstate
team.
New York, in like a winter jacket and a beanie, but shorts and slippers, walking across snow-covered campus. And I'm like, well, the heat's on in the frickin' building.
Yeah.
And then I walk back to my heated home. What are you guys? Now I've lived down here, and it's like, I can't. Yeah. No, it's nuts. Yeah.
It's
The blood thins or thickens or whichever direction, but it definitely changes.
Yeah.
I used to give my brother so much crap. He'd come back to New York for Thanksgiving, and his like pugs would have sweaters, and he'd have a sweater and another sweater and pants, and I'd be like, dude, we would like in swimsuits go out on the ice in February on the frozen pond, and now like your pug has a sweater. And he's like, don't judge, man. It's cold for us. Like, it didn't take long
We'd
at
jump
all.
in the ocean in January. We'd go jump in the ocean.
Now you can't do
I
that.
wouldn't do that now.
No, I wouldn't do it either.
No, definitely not.
I don't even like scuba diving with a wetsuit, and that's like 82 degrees that's what's cold enough. Keep it warmer. Yeah.
You do a lot of scuba diving?
I do. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I was fortunate enough that my pops, it's just like one of his favorite things to do, and his way of, being a pops is like, this is what I love. Let's see if you like it, which is why, I played baseball and got into loving the Yankees. But yeah, as soon as I was old enough, I think I was 11, in the bay
awesome.
with a half tank. You can't do it till you're 13, I want to say, at like a real depth. But, in the bay, 10 feet of water. They're like, yeah, sure. And so, since I was 11, and I'm a master diver now. I've been, some places all over the world, and I'm going to the Red Sea in 2 Octobers to scuba dive in Egypt.
I'll have to introduce you to somebody. Our friend's on the board at Dan.
Oh,
His
absolutely.
headquarters in Durham.
Oh, yeah. I've got a Dan insurance card.
Yeah.
Dan is a diver insurance agency. For those who are like, what are they talking? This is not construction related. Yeah.
Little off topic.
Off topic. That's
Just
okay.
shout out to Durham and Dan.
Shout out to Durham, to Dan, to Patty and STI and all of the scuba diving. We like scuba diving in this
That's
group.
right.
Yeah.
So we just picked up a commercial tenant, and this is kind of interesting. I was looking at it. I said, "What?" I looked at the name. I said, "What do they do?" And I Googled them. So they make goggles for people with glasses, prescription goggles.
Yeah, prescription scuba diving goggles.
prescription.
That's awesome.
And that just blew me away. I thought that was the neatest thing.
I'm right at the border where I obviously, you see me now in glasses, but I don't scuba dive with anything prescription. But when I was a kid, my pops had to get like, the goggle is obviously, people can't see me, but the goggle is this big. It's like a giant thing that goes over your whole thing. And he would get like the little stick-in reader things. So he had like bifocals in his goggles. It was like regular goggle glass. And then he'd have like these little magnifying strips. And from the outside, it would like distort. So you're looking at him and he'd look really weird. And be like, you'd catch like one of his eyes through the one angle of that lens if you were a little lower than him. And it'd be like, whoa, a huge fisheye. But so they're just doing like the entire glass as your prescription.
Yeah, the whole thing built right into it.
I'm sure that's not cheap.
It wasn't as much as
Do you remember?
I'll send you the website.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
do.
it was. I was fascinated by it. I had no idea. Now that I wear glasses, I was like, "Oh, this is interesting."
Have you been scuba diving or snorkeling?
When I was younger, I went scuba diving.
Yeah,
but I don't have my license. Or
in Boston.
No, not in Boston.
Yeah, jumped in an ice bath. Yeah,
It's the British Virgin Islands.
yeah.
Where I could see. No, I would not scuba dive in Boston. No.
I don't even know where you could, but I wouldn't recommend that either. I mean, scuba diving in North Carolina is not that great either. The quarry in Raleigh that I have been to is very cold, but they did sink like a bus and a plane and some like a Volkswagen. It's kind of cool if you want to go just like test out your gear. That's really why I went. I bought new gear. I was like, better make sure it works before I get on an airplane. So, yeah, I mean, this was awesome, Chris. Thanks for coming on. When you sell your house, definitely come back on.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, I'm going to get some more equipment, and we're going to get you and Stephanie on here together.
Yes,
We'll do a dual a dual podcast.
That'd be awesome.
But man, I really just appreciate your time. Thanks so much for
appreciate
coming.
you having me, Corp.
Awesome.
Anytime.
All right. Bye, everybody.